How's it going, guys? My name is Tavarish, and this was me 7 years ago, about to rebuild my first Lamborghini project car. And here's my second one, and the third, and this year, I got another one. So you can probably tell that Lamborghini is my favorite car brand. But one type of project has always been at the top of my bucket list, and that is the barn find. Finding a forgotten supercar covered with dust is the stuff of dreams. So when I got a call that told me about a once-in-a-lifetime Lamborghini barn find that was for sale, I had no choice but to get on a plane to LA and see it for myself.
So we are in a place that I never thought existed. This is the motherlode of barn finds, and we're gonna go check out a car that I never thought I'd be looking at. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the junkyard.
Now this isn't just any junkyard. When it was in business 4 decades ago, it went through more than 7,000 rare European cars, the kind the world will never see again. And because such automotive history was on display, and since I'm certainly no expert, I brought in my friend Scott Ailes, who was. And what we found was jaw-dropping.
That is a Lamborghini V12 just sitting here. These would have been in a front engine. It has a big AC compressor, so it has accessories. Look at that. I mean, you're already saving money. Has a clutch on it. I mean, this is ready to go. I feel like putting some spark plugs in there, and then we're good. And I probably should mention that the reason why we're here is because the very nice people at RM Sotheby's asked me if I wanted to be a part of this and check this place out. And I said yes, because I would like to buy a very dilapidated car that probably costs a lot of money that I can't afford. They invited me over here, and they're having an auction for all this stuff, like literally everything here. I believe it's October 26th, 2024. I can't explain to you how important this is. This has never happened in the history of humanity. If you want to check it out, I'll put the link in the video description below. If they have it here, this would be perfect. I mean, just the backdrop alone, look at that. Look at that backdrop. This is
Lamborghini Miura.
This is a Lamborghini? Do you know how rare these are?
Look at this.
Oh my goodness.
If it were a Corvette, it'd be a split window.
So Lamborghinis made these cars that were sort of baby Lamborghinis. So a lot of people don't know these. These are like the red-headed stepchildren of Lamborghini. Just ultra rare Lamborghini. And one thing that caught our eye immediately was that. There is a Lamborghini Miura front end just chilling. That car is worth, on a good day, $2 million. Front end of that car, super rare. Obviously, they don't make them anymore. So,
and it's got a data tag.
Yeah,
but you can't buy it unless you buy the Volkswagen bus transporter it's sitting on.
Yeah, so you have to buy the Volkswagen bus first, and that comes with the Miura. So I think the prices may be a little inflated because that Miura front end is on it. The guy who owned all this, he used to pick up parts with this truck, and it was foreign auto wrecking. And he called it, I believe it was like Porsche foreign auto wrecking.
Yeah, on the back tailgate.
Yeah, but it wasn't Porsche because he didn't want to get sued, so he dropped the S, and it was just Porsche. Porsche, and it's kind of like a tongue-in-cheek thing. I really like that. It's a sense of humor. All right, guys, so it is really clear that every single car in this junkyard is a project. Now, I love projects, but it's probably beyond most people's abilities to diagnose and repair these cars. But if you have something a little bit newer, like this 2024 Audi RS e-tron GT, then you can use today's sponsor to diagnose your car yourself and save it from going to the dealer. And I'm talking about Carly. So Carly is a game changer when it comes to diagnosing, coding, and getting live data about your car. So not only do they have repair guides which help you fix your car once you figured out your problem, but they also have intelligent predictions which tell you which problems you're likely to have. They also tell you your time until your next service and maintenance. And if you have certain BMW, VW, or Audi vehicles, you can custom code your car with features it never had from the factory. You also have stuff like engine live data and a used car mileage check to make sure your car didn't have any mileage tampering on it. Now, when it comes to something new like this car, it's electric, and weirdly enough, it does have a ton of faults, but I wager that these faults are probably because some resets were done in the car's history. Now, Carly is super easy to use. All you have to do is plug in the dongle to your car's OBD2 port and then start the app, and away you go. Let's look at the central electronics here. We have react immediately, and this is a right LCM daytime running lamps faulty. And what Carly has right here is very, very cool. It's a smart mechanic. Basically, what a smart mechanic does is it's a guide to help you fix your car. It gives you a current fault code, it gives you your last occurrence and potential consequences. This is what happens if you let the fault code go. Carly's expert mechanics have developed the following guide for your fault code, and stuff like this is extremely useful when you're trying to diagnose and fix your car yourself, because now you can do it. So if you guys want a Carly of your own, and I really hope you do because it is a game changer when it comes to diagnosing your car, then hit the link in the video description below, or just type in Tavarish 15 to get 15% off your order. It is super worth it. Go check it out right now.
It was clear that the family that owned and operated this junkyard truly loved these cars, because although many cars were far from repairable, they weren't scrapped. Instead, they were preserved by the California sun for nearly half a century. Now, Scott and I went through every nook and cranny of this place, and if you want to see the full hour-long walkthrough of this amazing yard, you can check out the extended cut on my second channel, where we show the unbelievably rare and obscure gems hiding in this rusty paradise.
All right, so this is one of the, if not the coolest part of the outside of this place, because it is full of like the rarest Porsches ever.
I mean, people have garages with lifts. That's a big deal now, right? Oh, I got a triple stacker. That's the ultimate triple stacker right there.
There we go. That's a flex. That's a flex. So these are all Porsche 356s and 911s.
The thing about this that I would find intriguing, not myself, but a certain person could be like Walt Disney.
Yeah.
I'm buying quietly all of these.
Yes.
And I'm gonna buy the pallet rack and I'm moving it to my place. This is gonna be my tribute to 356, to buy the whole lot.
Now, for those of you that don't know about the Porsche 356, it was the precursor to the 911. It was essentially a VW Beetle on steroids. Yeah. And did they have a 4-cylinder engine or a 6-cylinder? Yeah. So
both.
Yeah, so they had a 4-cylinder and a flat 4 and a flat 6, and then based on this platform and how it handled and operated, they made the 911, which we know is one of the most iconic, if not the most iconic, German sports cars today. And they certainly do have a lot of 911s because
there's a couple on top there.
Yeah, there's a bunch there. I mean, I think the entire side of that is just 911s. Pan to the left, Audi Quattro Coupe. So these cars were known for their rally pedigree. They used a lot of these in like Group B rally and late 80s, and it looks, honestly, it looks pretty complete other than the interior missing.
When I see a car like that, the first thing I think of, I know it's valuable, it's rare, exclusivity equals value, but how many that color did they make?
Yeah.
Like that's a little trick in this entire sale. There's all these little opportunities to research and know and be that guy like, I know something that nobody else knows. They only made X.
Yes.
That color.
Well, Scott pointed something out off camera, and if you turn around, you'll see that there's not only a ton of cars, but so many more parts. And they have, like, there's these rear subframes, and Scott said that this is like, what car is that from?
This is off the 600 limo. So this is the air suspension, the valves, the airbags that are deteriorated here. But this is why these cars are so expensive to care for, is all these valves leak. Look at it, all these hard lines. You walk out in the morning to get in your car and it's like
that still happens on Mercedes.
It does.
And this is it's a ride height sensor for a car made in the 60s. That is so insane. But like, not only do they have this, but they have rear ends for every other car. There we go. Another Porsche and a Ferrari 275. The person that was in this car was not happy, but that badge still good. So
well, that's the tail. Look how the steering column is bent.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Well, let's hope they're okay.
Yeah.
After finding even more parts that were all but lost to time, we headed towards the cathedral-like hall of engines, with each drivetrain more rare than the last.
Just take a look at this. Porsche, 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 Porsche. And each one of these, if it's not scrapped, they're selling it. And they're putting the prices, you know, they make them enticing for people. People like me. People that think, hey, it would be great to have one of these engines as a table, or even to make run again. Because, Scott, if we took one of these engines, let's just say we got an engine and dry iced it.
Yeah.
It would be worth, like, if we dry iced it and then made it run again, it would be worth quite a bit of money. So they have these things listed, like each of these engines for like $2,000 to $4,000. That's their estimated price, but there's 1,000% chance that people are going to fall in love with all this and then just bid like crazy.
Oh yeah.
Me included.
And after thoroughly geeking out on engines, transmissions, doors, and parts that left us stumped, we walked inside the main building, which housed all of the car's paperwork, dating back 50 years. In addition to a ton of accessories from Porsche, Mercedes, and Lamborghini, some of which were new in box. At this point, you'd think that we'd be prepared for what was in the next room, but you'd be wrong.
This car is already a 7-figure car. It's a Mercedes 300 SL Roadster. Now these cars were, at the time, in the mid-50s, the fastest cars on the planet. They were essentially race cars with tube frame chassis. You can see the battery in the back right there. Like, look at that. Batteries behind the passenger seat. Manual transmission. They had a dual overhead cam, straight 6, making around 220-ish horsepower.
A little more of a slant 6. I mean, they had to actually cant it.
Oh yeah.
To get it to. It bothers me. The 2x4 is on the alloy shield.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. We.
I'm not touching.
Yeah.
it.
Not touching anything here. But this would be worth something like.
Well, everybody wants project roadsters, and they hope to get them for $700-800 grand.
Yeah.
And this car's going to break $1 million. For sure, the way it is, even though it's $1 million plus or minus to restore it.
Yeah.
It's just because of the history.
Because it's here. Their estimate, I think, is 800 to $1 million. There is another 300 SL, and that is with the traditional gull wings. They have one of those. It's off-site, but the reason why it's off-site, not here, is because it's a special. It's made out of alloy.
It's an alloy SL gull wing.
It's not steel. It's alloy, so it's an aluminum car. And
it's the only black alloy they ever made.
So that estimate is $4.5 million to $6 million. I think it's probably going to go more than that, because if you have already one of the most iconic cars ever made, and it's a 7-figure car on its worst day, then this car that is the only example of that with special bodywork and special construction, that's going to go for a ton of money.
It's not really smart for me or anyone to talk about what something might do, but you could speculate any range on that car above their low estimate.
Yeah.
And nobody can tell. There are too many billionaires in the world that have a collection that's a rounding error.
Yes.
If it's 10, 20, 30 million, whatever it is, it's a rounding error to those people.
But just being here in the presence of this car, I mean, people don't get to see this, especially in this condition. I mean, this is the only one in the world like this. That's it. This is the only car in the world like this. So these are the knockoff wheels, and the way you put them on and off is that you have is it like a brass hammer?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you have a brass hammer because brass is softer than this metal, and you would just literally knock it on and off. You would just smash it with a hammer. The hammer would get a little deformed every once in a while, but these wheels would still stay intact. And it really is. Ooh, what's that?
This is the most overlooked item of any replica 300 SL. Mm-hmm. Nobody ever puts the factory jack hole in the rocker panel on the replicas. And I mean that in a good way.
Yes.
A jack hole.
Yes.
Now, while there were some ultra rare cars in the shed worth millions, the ones I actually came to see were just around the corner.
Behind this door is the car that I flew across the country to see. Actually, there's a few cars behind this door that I flew across the country to see. These are the Lamborghini Miuras. These are cars that started off Lamborghini's foray into the supercar realm. This was the world's first mid-engine supercar, and this one is super, super special. I can't wait to see it. Oh my goodness.
What a waste of love.
Dude.
The tires, the contrast.
Oh my goodness.
What's the story here? Pee-wee.
Yeah, it just says Pee-wee. So I'm scared. I'm not gonna touch anything here. This is a 1968 Lamborghini Miura. It is an early car, and it's a non-S, but it's in the best shade of green. It has an engine, transmission, interior. It is a complete car, and it's been sitting for 45, 46 years. Now it needs a bit of body work, as you can see. You can probably tell, but it's nothing that we can't take care of. So when I say that this was the world's first supercar, Lamborghini before this, when they became a company in 1963, they made a 350 GT, and that was a front engine car. Had a V12, had a manual transmission, but this was the first time anybody had put a V12 in the back, in the middle of the car with a manual transmission. And this is essentially the genesis of every single supercar you see today. Ferrari, Lamborghini, Maserati, McLaren, like they all owe their layout to this car right here. And it is so cool. It is so cool. I can't begin to tell you how much I would love to take this car home and clean it. If it were in good shape, if it were a concourse level restoration, would be $2 million, something like that.
Plus or minus, yeah.
Yeah.
Love the color. Color's fantastic.
The color is really good, and I believe this is the original color, but I don't think it's the original paintwork. And you can hear a dog going off in the background. Yeah, I don't. There's a Miura behind it too. So there are 3 Miuras in this auction, and this one is the most complete because it has all the body work. Has a few dents. There's a dent right here. Just got punched in the face a little bit. But this one's complete. This one is also sort of kind of complete. It does have its engine, but the front end has taken a bit of a wall up. You see the original numbers right here, and the guys here tell me that in order to fix this, you can see the ripples in the frame. In order to fix this, you just essentially have to cut everything off there and then build a new frame, because these are not available anywhere. You can say it's very thin steel, and it's corrugated. So as you can imagine, when you're in a crash, there's a lot of things that happen, and you can't really unbend this paper clip. This is what I'm going to be looking at, but this one was a later model car. So in this car, the wheels were just something that they threw together because at some point in this car's life, the original wheels were stolen. So this is obviously not right, but I think this car can be restored. Unfortunately, this car does not have an engine, but what does have an engine is this one right here. And I just got word from the RM guys that if we're really careful, we can pop the rear bonnet, the rear clamshell, I guess?
Clamshell, yeah, that's what I would call it.
Okay, so we're gonna be very, very careful not to interrupt the dust or bodywork of this car, and we're gonna open it up and look at this engine. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Oh my goodness. Okay, here we are.
Yep.
All right, it's holding.
It's holding. Oh my god.
And look at that. There's a Lamborghini V12 and it is mounted this way, kind of long ways in the engine bay, with a transmission that is so small. It's a transaxle. It is so small because they couldn't find any other way for it to fit. These early cars had a split sump. Well, not a split sump. They had a shared sump. So the transmission and the engine had they were sharing the same oil. And this was before the days of really wide tires. I mean, apparently not. But the really wide tires of supercars now, these were just regular. I mean, these are, I don't even know what that is, GR70, VR15. But this looks like, I don't know, a 225 or 215 wide tire. Everything seems complete, man.
This is like aching to be dry ice cleaned.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
It would be perfect. It would be I mean, imagine how good this would look with a dry ice.
I'm gonna go on record again. This also I would clean for free.
Okay, good. Are there any cars here that you wouldn't clean for free?
Not many.
Yeah. Okay, so we can put this down, but I also got some permission to lift the bonnet, the hood, and see what's behind there. All right, we're good? Oh, careful. Look at that. All right.
I got it.
You got it?
I got it.
Okay. Look underneath this. So you have a spare tire. No supercars have this anymore, right? A spare tire anywhere?
Not there.
No, absolutely not there. There was a number here, and this is the number from Bertoni, which is the builder of this car, like the designers, right?
Yep.
So this is designed by Bertoni, and these basically mean that this car is quite valuable. But look at this dust. Look at this.
It's just so thick. It's crazy.
Yeah. Imagine
And
how
I have no way of knowing, but goodness, if that's the original spare, that would
original spare.
I don't know, but that'd be super cool.
But I mean, it hasn't been changed in 46 years,
No,
so
it hasn't.
it wouldn't have.
It's definitely a vintage tire.
Yes. Dude, this
And
is.
you get your emery cloth there in case you need it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just got it. You know. I am going to, since this is raised up, I want to go underneath the car and take a look, because this car, you see that it's been hit in the front. There is some rust right here. So yeah, come over here. You can see that there's rust all up and down the door, but weirdly enough, that's not actually a big deal. The metal can be replaced there. I don't think you're going to need a new door. Panel gaps. I mean, the panel gaps aren't great, but like there's a panel gap here, but then this is like kind of kicked over a little bit. So panel gap starts big, and then it closes up right here. So at some point, I think this might have been a hit. And there's also quite a bit of body work all over the car. You can see right here that the body line isn't straight. And if you look at this guy, this seems a lot more straight, because you have like, look at the panel gaps here. It doesn't look like this has been hit here at all. So the panel gaps, they're a little bit big, but they are uniform. And this is pretty arrow straight. But if you come over here, Tommy, like just look down the Death Star trench. Yeah, and you can see that it's not exactly, it's a little bit cattywampus. There's a little bit of rust right here in the frame, and I'm guessing they put this on a dolly just because maybe the wheels are seized or something like that, and they don't want to move the car around, or it has some frame damage. Yeah, there's a lot of rust underneath here. Even though this is a California car, you know, these things were pretty thin-skinned. So if anybody was to restore this car, they would have to put it on rotisserie, meaning that every single nut and bolt would have to come off, and you'd have to put it on, well, what is a rotisserie? You have to turn it around, treat all the metal, fix all the metal, and then put the car back together. And that process, I mean, Scott, what's the estimate on fixing something like this?
Money?
Yeah, money-wise.
$800,000 to $1 million.
So $800,000 to $1 million just to restore this car. To buy this car, they have an estimate of $500,000 to $700,000, which I think is probably pretty low. So let's say a YouTuber buys this car for $600,000, which he does not have, by the way, and then tries to restore it, it would still be marginally worth it if this car was like a quality restoration, or if that YouTuber had some knucklehead buddies and wanted to just make this a running driver.
I've received texts in the past that sort of address these things.
Yes. It's like, hey, so what are you doing this weekend? You want to see some old cars? Honestly, this would be the mother of all barn finds. I know that some people have seen like Countachs in houses, like somebody's grandma had a Countach that she didn't know what to do with. This tops that, because there are 3 of them, and these are more rare. They're older than a Countach, and dare I say, I think these are a little bit cooler. This thing needs a lot of work. All these cars need a lot of work, but I will be waiting in the wings to see what this goes for, and I think I'm going to bid on this, and if I win, then we will have an amazing project. Now you guys let me know if you want this project on the channel. I know I have the P1 and all the other stuff, but the timing is never right on these things, right?
I can assure you one thing, in the auction world,
Yeah.
you are going to own this car for a split second.
For a split second, there we go. I will be the custodian of this car for about a second.
So at minimum, you'll have that.
You know who could tell us something about some early Miura factory cars? Yeah. I have a friend. That's actually a really good idea. I have a friend in the area that has one of these, so we can go and ask him some questions. I'm at my friend's place. You guys might know the background here. And that Miura is, well, essentially a good version of what we just saw. And my friend, and I can't believe I'm saying this, is Mr. Jay Leno.
Hey, how are you? Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too, man.
Yeah, so you're looking at a Miura.
Yeah. Well, the one that I was looking at is a little bit worse for wear. It's been sitting for 46 years, has a layer of dust on it.
Was it outside or inside?
It was inside, but it was a junkyard, so it just got, the elements had to have intruded at some point.
Right.
So this one, the one that I was looking at was a 68, but this is a 67.
This is a very early car. This is kind of a 127. Dean Martin bought this for his son.
Oh, really?
Dino, yeah.
Okay.
And the kid drove it everywhere, but he went over a berm and cracked the pan.
Okay.
Engine problem, seized, whatever it was. Then it was abandoned, and a friend of mine got it, who was a teacher, thinking they could fix it. But in those days, you couldn't really call the factory. Nobody spoke English, and it was just hard to get parts. Like, I knew guys that tried to figure out how to put a 283 Chevy in one of them. I mean, really, because that's what it was. It was an abandoned car.
What kind of transmission would you even use in something like this? Because it's like a transverse layout.
Well, I guess you have to hack it all up. But, it's like some people do with a P1.
Listen,
it's that kind of thing. Yeah.
Jay's my comment section right now. And I don't appreciate it, but there is a really nice P1 behind me, and it hasn't been in a saltwater bath, so that's good.
No, that one hasn't been saltwater.
Yeah, not yet.
But
the day's
anyway,
young.
so I got it. It was in the guy's yard. And, well, get the thing out of here. So.
Oh yeah, I just don't want to see it. It's so ugly. What an eyesore. So there's one thing. I mean, I've always been a Lamborghini guy. I'm not too into Ferraris, but with Lamborghini, it always felt like the Lamborghini ethos was like a self-starter, like kind of an entrepreneur. Like they kind of went for those types of people.
Well, it was always road cars, not race cars. I think Lamborghini was smart not to go racing, because that's just throwing money in it. Unless racing is in your blood, like Enzo,
right?
You have to do it. But he wanted to build a better Ferrari. That was sort of the idea.
Yeah.
And the 4-cam Espada it was. In 1986, I looked at 2 cars, a Ferrari 330 GTC, which was 28.5, and the red Lamborghini Espada, which is 24.5. Now, $4,000 is a huge amount of money. Plus, that had 2 extra cams, had more horsepower. On paper, it kind of made more sense than a Ferrari, but you're dealing with emotion here, and so logic doesn't. So the Ferrari went to be probably $1 million, and that went up maybe $100,000 in 40 years. But I still like it. So if you buy what you like, then you're always okay.
And what's interesting about those, the Espadas, is that they're still the only Lamborghini, vintage Lamborghini that you can get for relatively cheap. I mean, they haven't gone crazy like the Miura. You can still get them in like $100,000, 150 to 200, something like that.
Yeah,
range.
and it's the only Lamborghini I have to actually move the seat forward.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's a
Because
lot of
all
room in
kinds of
it.
leg room in there. All the basketball players bought those because that was like an exotic you could fit in. You know?
Absolutely. Well, one thing I wanted to find out, because I wasn't able to sit in that car because it's, I don't want to disturb the 46 years of dust. Yeah. It's patina. Can I sit in the car?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Let me get the transmission jack. We'll get you in there.
Yeah. Wait, do you have, how much lube do you have?
No, okay, give it a shot.
Yeah. That could have been a P. Diddy joke, but I didn't go for it, because I'm a nice guy. When you have the doors open, it looks like bull horns. And there's so much style here. Not a lot of science, because as Jay said, when you go really fast, it sort of acts like an airplane wing and wants to lift off the ground.
Well, I'll show you the wall. Gandini was standing where you stood in here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he sat in this car too.
Oh, sweet. Okay, so I'm a little bit bigger than Gandini. I'm going to just mosey on in here. Okay, that's good.
It's not bad.
Tell you what, if I just do a little neck shortening, I feel like this is good. Yeah, I mean,
a couple of Ozempics and you're in there.
That's right. Yeah. Just take my shots every 2 days, and then we'll be okay. If I do a real big gangster lean, and then forget that I have knees, this is not terrible. This really is so cool. So everything is leather in here. It's not covered in dust. It actually smells really nice. So those of you who have smell-o-vision, it's take a whiff.
Well, you can really see the coach-built aspect. It's still got the wooden steering wheel.
It does.
I mean, this comes from, the 1930s are only 30 years back. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like now 30 years back is the 90s. But this is still sort of built the old-fashioned way.
So, getting out is very, very modern supercar.
Yeah.
So that hasn't changed. This was the original supercar. Actually, can we pop the?
Yeah, I'll show you. Open the door.
Okay.
Now, this is something you see only in the early cars. You'll see when you open these. You see the handle right here. Pull that out.
Okay. Pull it out.
Pull it out, and then you lift this.
There we are. Okay. Ooh.
Be careful, don't shut the door because it'll bend the rod.
Gotcha. I know a few things about bending rods.
The whole idea for this car came from the English car, the Mini, designed by Isagonis.
Oh, nice.
And that had the transmission and everything mounted transverse like this in the front. They just reversed it and put it in the back, but that's where the inspiration came from. The transmission and the engine share the same oil, which is not ideal, but it's not terrible if you change the oil. The only difference between a Miura and an SV Miura is, well, there's a little horsepower difference in flares and things, is the fact that it has a split sump. And everybody, they have to have the split sump. You don't really. You can even split the sump in one of these if you want. I mean, you just keep the transmission separate from the engine oil.
So they just used engine oil in the transmission?
You just, you filled it up and filled them both, yeah.
Okay, wonderful. I know the early Countachs also had something like that, but they had a split sump, correct?
Yeah.
This is amazing. So, I mean, you've had this for quite a while. Yeah, 40 years.
And everything is metal. There's no plastic caps or anything.
Yeah.
And that makes it kind of fun. I mean, it's great. It's, 370 horsepower, which it weighs, I think it's less than a Miata. It's 2,200 pounds, something like that.
I mean, that must have been all of it back then. I mean, that 370 horsepower was a big deal.
Oh, yeah. And it's quite fast and fun. And it makes all the right noises in the gated shifter, and you're looking at the carburetors right behind your ear. And viscerally, it's a very exciting car to drive. It really is fun. Gordon Murray never talks about horsepower or any of that. And that's what this is all about, the driving sensation. It feels like a vintage car. Click the gated shifter. Controls are not particularly light, but not heavy. It's what you think aerodynamics would look like, as opposed to what aerodynamics really looks like a Prius.
Yes.
But the Prius is not exciting, so this has a good compromise.
You shouldn't say that. Tommy drives a Prius, so
Yeah,
it's.
I-
Why do you have to tell Jay that?
The sexiest cars are the ones that are both masculine and feminine.
Yes.
In the sense that you have the eyebrows on the front, and then you have the sort of masculine haunches at the back, so it gives it a sort of. But all women seem to think an XKE is beautiful.
Yeah.
because it has both masculine and feminine too. You know, women look at a Countach and they go, "How old are you? What do you drive?"
Oh, yeah.
You know, but you drive and pull up in a Jag. Ooh, you know, suddenly you're the man. You know. So,
Yeah, it's like that Aston Martin thing. Well,
yeah, but this is all about coach built. Is this unlocked? Let me see. Oh, there we go.
Wow.
Okay. I mean, look at that frame.
That is fantastic.
Yeah, everything is drilled for lightness. It's got the original fans and original horn and all that kind of stuff. What they call a Testarossa fuel pump. The red, that's a new fuel pump. Spare tire right there.
I do like the spare tire, as that was the crumple zone. So
yeah,
that was,
no, you're the crumple zone.
So the gas tank is up front.
Gas tank is up front.
So meaning that if you go real fast and the gas depletes, then you have less front end weight.
Yeah. This front end, you get above 120 in this car. I mean, you can actually feel like you're like hovering. I mean, you're not off the, but I mean, you can just feel how light it gets. Yeah.
Especially back then with the bias ply tires, and it's got to be all over the road.
You know, this is when 100 miles an hour is like 200 miles an hour is today.
Yeah.
You know, even when you watch like the early James Bond, remember he was in the Mustang with the one in the 98 and 99, 100. Everybody's like panicking and the speedometer's going like this. Hitting 100.
Star Trek. I cannot hold it, Captain. She's breaking apart.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, cars is not like with my Countach is next door. We're doing the upholstery on it, but I don't think a Countach ever hit 200. It's just a aerodynamic brake.
It looked like it could, so that's
but
all that
150, 160 was really fast. That's about as fast as you got. This one here is a 69. This is when they realized, guys, we got to stop building cars that actually people can drive.
Yeah.
So the frame was beefed up, a little bit stronger. Instead of having a pull on each door, you have one central one there that opens the rear hatch part there.
Okay, so a lot more creature comforts, that sort of thing.
But the fun thing about this was, I got this and it was just an old car. So you didn't have to think, oh, does it have Italian air in the tires? I don't want it to, you know what I mean? Like people get all, we sanded it and painted it here, did the repairs, drove it, it broke down the road, park it, get your friend, come back, drag you back, get it run. I mean, we got to treat it like an old car, and, which was really the fun part. Now they're so valuable, you really can't go anywhere with them. But
That's the issue, especially with Lamborghinis. I have I had a Murcielago. I got it from the Fast and Furious guys.
Right.
So after we fixed it, it was worth so much more, and then I'm like, I am now scared to drive this car because everybody on the road, like some Ford Tempo, just sideswipes you.
Right.
And then for me, it's more about like I'm ruining their life because there's no way their insurance is gonna cover that. But I do like the ability of you having like an expensive car, but then you could like put tools on it, you could sit on it, whatever.
Right,
like,
right.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I just had here? We were driving it for a couple of weeks with Girari. You ever hear of that?
No.
Bill Hara, he owned Harrah's Casinos. He had a casino in Lake Tahoe, which is in the snow, and Reno, which is in the desert. And occasionally the celebrities that played at Cosby and all those guys, Sinatra, they'd land in Reno and they'd be driven up to Lake Tahoe, which is in the mountains. And it snowed. Bill Hara was a big car guy, obviously, Hara's Museum, but he also a Ferrari dealer and a Jeep dealer. So one of his salesmen wrecked a Daytona.
Okay.
Okay, now you didn't fix them, it was just now it's a wreck sport. So they took the engine out, put it in the Jeep. So now you have a 365
Of course.
motor going through, and in 14 days, he said, I need this done before so-and-so, some celebrity gets in. So in 14 days, it goes through the four-wheel drive gearbox. And it's fast. I mean,
I can
you get on
imagine.
it, and it sounds like a Ferrari.
Yeah.
But it's a Jeep, and it tops out at 140 miles an hour. In fact, one time a guy came to Bill Hara and said, he was a helicopter salesman. He said, rather than drive up, you can use a helicopter to get from Reno to the mountains. And he said, well, let's race. He said, I'll start from my house, but you have to drive to the airport and see who gets there for any beat 'em.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So it's like one of those Top Gear race against public transport deals.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, Jay, thank you so much. I have a lot of thinking to do because these cars, unfortunately, are no longer free. They are very expensive, and the one that I'm looking at, they estimate it, even in that state, they estimate it to be between like 500 and 700. I think what's going to happen is people are going to fall in love with that car, seeing it online, and then that bidding could go up to whatever. Because I mean, these things are like, are they like $1 million, $2 million, something like that?
Something like that.
Yeah.
You know, I picked up a spare motor with the block and the pistons and crank are not in it, but everything else is there. You know.
So we got parts. We got a parts connect. That's good. So I have some thinking to do because it's going to be expensive.
You haven't done that to this point.
I have not done that yet.
Right.
And it's not steered me wrong.
You think you're in trouble now? Start thinking.
Yeah.
Then you're really screwed.
Dude, thank you so much.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Cool.